The center of Pokrovsk is under the control of the armed forces of Ukraine. Assault groups and units of the 7th Air Assault Corps, together with the 425th Separate Assault Regiment Skala, cleared the area around the train station, the Pedagogical College, and Soborny Square the day before. This thwarted Russian attempts to bring in reinforcements and increase pressure on the northern part of the city, according to the air assault forces. In the center of Pokrovsk, the armed forces are still holding their positions. There are ongoing round-the-clock firefights in the city. Paratroopers and other units are doing everything possible to prevent the enemy from gaining a foothold in the completely destroyed city.
Ukraine's defense forces are holding their positions in the center of Pokrovsk despite regular attempts by the Russians to advance and entrench themselves there. This was reported by the 7th Corps of the Air Assault Forces, which, together with other units, is defending the Pokrovsk Myrnohrad agglomeration. Joining us now is Roman Pisarenko, head of the Communications Department of the 79th Separate Air Assault Brigade, which is part of the 7th Corps. Mr. Roman, welcome.
Good afternoon. Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to the heroes. Please tell us what is currently happening on the section of the front your brigade is defending.
Our brigade is currently carrying out a combat mission in the area of the settlement of Myrnohrad. The situation remains consistently difficult. The enemy carries out assault actions every day. These are endless assaults. The enemy's main tactic remains the same. These are assault groups, small assault groups. These are groups of 2 to 3 servicemen, sometimes 5 to 7 servicemen. These attacks start early in the morning, as soon as dawn breaks, and continue until it is already dark and nothing can be seen. But the enemy also doesn't sleep. At night, they use the darkness to move their personnel, to regroup, and to try to advance more covertly closer to our front line during the night. But thanks to drones equipped with thermal imaging cameras, the enemy is detected and successfully destroyed, specifically in our sector of the front.
As far as I understand, the situations in Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad are a bit different. In Pokrovsk itself, there are many Russians. They are trying to advance through the city. There aren't as many of them in Myrnohrad, but Myrnohrad is highly dependent on Pokrovsk for logistics. And if it becomes impossible to move or transport anything through Pokrovsk, then Myrnohrad will effectively be blocked. What can you say about your logistics situation right now? Have you managed to stabilize the situation with it even a little?
Yes, indeed, we've managed to more or less stabilize the logistics situation, but it still remains complicated as it is on many other sections of the front, because right now the so-called kill zone is very large. And it's quite difficult to supply the units on the front line, but we're managing to deal with this situation. We have ground-based robotic systems that help us with this extremely well. It's also possible to deliver ammunition, water, food, and some warm clothing to the guys since it's already cold. This is done specifically with the help of hexacopters, large drones. So logistics are complicated, but they are working. It's really tough, but everything necessary is being delivered to the guys on the front line.
Recently, Russia attacked Myrnohrad with the most powerful conventional KAB in its arsenal. This is the KAB-3000, which contains almost 1.5 tons of explosives. That was a single, isolated incident. Have the Russians become more active with KABs in your area now, using them more and more?
Specifically regarding KABs, Russia has never reduced the number they use on our section of the front. But yes, it's true they use the KB-3000s quite rarely because they don't have that many of them in their arsenal. But as for the 500 and 1,000 kilogram KABs, they use them daily, striking specifically at the town of Myrnohrad. Now the town of Myrnohrad looks more like the city of Privit. There is daily use of aviation and artillery. The entire range of weaponry that the Russians have, they use all of it to strike Myrnohrad.
Is armored equipment being used? Do the Russians have the ability to bring it in?
Yes, indeed, the Russians have started to occasionally use armored vehicles in some places, but this also does not bring them any significant success. Previously, if we look at the summer, they didn't use it at all on our sections of the front. In the fall, they started to use it a bit more, but it is also detected in advance and successfully destroyed. There hasn't been any kind of massive daily use of armored vehicles like the assaults we saw last year.
Does the weather factor somehow affect the course of combat operations in Pokrovsk? Because remember, a few days ago there was a video showing the Russians moving columns into Pokrovsk under the cover of fog. However, later the airborne assault troops reported that this column ultimately went straight into hell. Is anything similar happening in Pokrovsk?
I can speak specifically about the settlement of Myrnohrad. Weather conditions really will always affect the course of combat operations because, for example, when there is fog, it plays into the hands of both us and them. Because under the influence of fog or heavy rain, you can't use as many drones, reconnaissance drones or FPV drones for objective reasons, because they might not see anything, or due to weather conditions like rain, they might not be able to fly far. But yes, it affects both the course of combat operations and first and foremost logistics. Because during fog or heavy rain, it's easier to supply the front lines of units, bring people in and out, replace them, and carry out rotations. That's how it works on our side and on theirs as well. They also try, under the cover of fog, to get as close as possible to our front line and engage in small arms combat there.
Mr. Roman, thank you very much for telling us about the situation in Myrnohrad. That was Roman Pizarenko, head of the communications department of the 79th Separate Air Assault Tavria Brigade of the Air Assault Forces. You can and should support the Air Assault Forces on the nationwide platform. Friends, it's simple. The address you see on the screen and the QR code, which takes you straight to the donation page.